In 2013, I got married. It was not that easy, but I got married. I will not tell you the not easy part, but it was great. But amongst the things that I enjoyed about getting married was we need transport fare went down and other things like that. It was easy. Fairly kwa ni moja tu. One of the things that was happening at that time was merging our genders, because one thing my wife and I had agreed upon is we didn't want to lose our individuality. There are things that my wife really likes and should lose sleep over. There are things that I like and I would lose sleep over. There are things that of ours kind of intersect, you know. My wife is a great singer. She can sing very well, and I can listen to music very well. But amongst other things that were coming in when we're trying to, our merged manifestos, how are we going to do this life together, was fitness. Because the moment she came home, I just noticed that my clothes started shrinking. And I thought it was the detergent she came with, because I used to use a different one. But I think her food possibly was a contributing factor. So we had to do something, because weight gain is expensive. You need to buy new clothes. You get tired quickly. You don't finish assignments on time. There were many things that it was taking a toll on my work. So we needed to find an exercise that works. My wife works very well with indoor exercise, aerobics, and I'm like, I left those things in PE. Why do you do these things in the house? So we tried. I mean, she should play ball. She would come when I would go to a park. Let's walk, let's cycle in the park. Yeah. But she would not wake up about that. I tried to run for a bit, and at some point you need to decide. If you try to become a serious runner, at some point you discover you need to choose between whether you'll be buying shoes or tires for your car, because the price is about the same. I picked up cycling. This was a thing that happened because it was important to stay alert, because one of the things that I do, my work is as a visual storyteller, it requires traveling to many places. And if you've traveled Kenya, you know that it's only in Nairobi that we really care about time in precision. The places that I would go, you'd ask, where can we get to this particular place? And you were told, it's either Hapa or Hapa 2. And that would depend on, your stamina. If you're fit, it'll just be Hapa. It'll be Hapa 2. If you're not, it'll be, very fast. So anyway, I needed to get fit. So cycling was a good thing that my wife, picked out for me. And I mean, she gifted me a bicycle, and I became faithful to that. It coincided with COVID, the pandemic, which now in the workspace that I am in and still is empathy is a big thing. So the idea of getting people from Nairobi to go and, document things outside vulnerable places was not going to cut it. So everything was on pause in terms of where work was concerned. Apart from our fridge, because my wife, again, her and her friends were experimenting on recipes and, this and that. And being Kenya, I was like, Bureau of Standards, I would have to certify that this was really a good meal. And each time I opened it, there was something to eat. Again, she started using that detergent, so my clothes were, But anyway, so cycling was a thing. So I began cycling, and I moved from Coach Potato, Keyboard Potato, doing research and stuff, to I initially began with, it used to be like 10, it was about 50 kilometers. No, when I began cycling, I used to do about 20 kilometers a week. And that quickly became 150 kilometers a week, So this is how my day would start. Wake up in the morning, pray, get on the bike, have at least a devotion I would listen to as I'd mapped out routes and see the beautiful sides of Nairobi. And I would come home, I would come home ready now to, crunch on whether proposals and whatever edits needed to be checked out. I had time. So, it was that breakfast, then work, that breakfast and work. And the roads of Nairobi at that time were just like Sundays in Nairobi, nothing happening, So, but as time continued to build on, there was, more traffic started building on the roads. So one particular day, that was in last year in May 2021, going for cycling, the same thing. I was overtaking cars. They've got 4 wheels, I've got 2 wheels because I was limitless, just moving. I was like, yoo-hoo, So all those times, making my progress, enjoying my cycling, getting really nice thoughts, smelling the morning nice dew. I mean, those, and part of my route had Ngong Road, which I think is one of the best cycling routes in Nairobi. It's got a pedestrian lane, a motorbike lane, it's like all of them, all of you are catered for over there, Even those who want to sit, you can just sit if you don't want to walk. Nice bus stops. It was nice. You not meet with cars, and then you go to some place. I mean, as you approach sides of Lenana, there are tree nurseries there, so you get to smell those things as they're blossoming in the morning. It was quite nice, So coming back in the morning, I was like, yeah, I'd now, setting the tone, I'm like, yes, I had 1 kilometer to finish my race. And to finish my race. So at that point, I'm thinking about, today, this cycling has been a bit hard. I'm already starting to think about, yes, today I'm going to do, there's a website we're developing, and then after that, there are proposals I needed to send out. And as I was at that point, I was at Bagathi Road, I was thinking about those things. I felt some vibration on the road, and this vibration, I was like, oh, that sounds a bit like it's a bit close. And the next thing, my point of view had changed, from here, and I had a frog's eye view. I was like, and then 12 wheels were passing me. I was like, what's going on, And I tried to stand up because my instinct was like, I think I've been knocked, and I need to stop that tractor. So I'm like, excuse me, you knocked me, But I could not stand up. I was like, why? Why can't we, us guys, we move, come on, So, at that morning, I was wondering what's happening. And what happened in a very short time was I was in a pit, and there were guys with helmets around me. Curious onlookers had come to check what had happened. And when I was there, I was still trying to move, and I couldn't move, and there's a lot of pain. Pain was, the shock, the pain, it was a lot. And one guy who's just over there, there's a way in which some of these guys wear those helmets where it's kind of like halfway. I don't know. The helmet is at this side, but you can see the helmet. It's like a pushback, but it's a helmet. It's hard to explain. You need to see it to describe it. So this guy, by his demeanor, he did look like the least person to take serious, And in my pain, I still didn't think that he was a guy to take serious. But he asked me, hey, Kijana, can you shake your left leg, I was in the pit in pain, but I was able to shake my left leg. And then he asked me, can you shake your right leg? I was able to do the same. I was like, I told you I could. And the next thing he asked me is, can you shake your right, So I was like, my left hand. And because I was leaning on my right hand, and he asked me, can I raise it? And at that point, I was like, okay, this guy had a point, I could not raise my right hand. And immediately he told the other onlookers who are on stage, who are just around me. It felt like stage, by the way, kind of like this. And the guys who were there, he instructed them on how to get to the pit and pull me out. It was so meticulous. If you guys have seen how cars are hoisted when they go for, whether it's Formula One or when you go for wheel balancing, how it's raised. So these two guys came in, and I was moved in, and there was a motorbike waiting, and I was put in. I was placed there. Another motorbike now took the remains of my bicycle. They were keen to take me to hospital, but having stayed in Nairobi, I knew that going to hospital sometimes can be in itself an extreme sport. When it comes to admin, I didn't want to go to hospital and then have to sign and, all those kind of things. So I just wanted to cry and just, absorb what had happened to me and feel pity for myself. So I thought we'd pass by home. Possibly my wife was done with aerobics. So we got home, and on getting home, I was able to tell these border guys, hey, this is where I live, and they were really courteous enough to get me home. And when I was just getting home, my daughter was going for a walk, and she was the first person to see me within the neighborhood. So she let out a squeal, which let the neighbors, hey, there's commotion over here. So within that time, my neighbors come out, including my wife, came to check what's happening. And in a very short time, I remember my neighbor getting in, just telling my wife, okay, I'm with you, I'll help this guy. They moved me straight from the border into a car and took me to hospital. That was not how I'd planned my day to be. I got to hospital, and that time pain, wow, that was something else. My heartbeat had moved to my arm. It was sharing between my arm and my fingers, and I was like, there's nothing happening on this side of me. And I was asking, why me? I was devotion. I was on top of it. I was praying. In fact, God, we prayed before we got onto this bicycle, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Where has this one prospered? So anyway, I was in hospital. You see a lot of things in hospital. I mean, waiting for that point to happen. My right hand had excruciating pain. I was moved from, went in for the x-ray. They need to find out exactly what was happening. But because of how my hand was positioned, it was hard for them to get an exact read of what was happening. So they're like, I know when Mwanaume, just Jikaze will go and will force this. It'll be a lot of pain, but we'll be able to position you to get the right scan. And somewhere between there, before going for that painful decision, because I was already in pain and in pain medication, and that wasn't cutting it, I remember a photo was sent to one of my friends, Dr. Kwasa, who is a radiologist, and he was what people were looking at on the light table. He looked at it on the phone and said, he called out exactly what was happening. So I didn't have to go through that other pain. I remember because I was going in and out of pain. So the next thing I think I blacked out a bit. I came up and I had a familiar voice. And this guy was saying, hey, cut those gloves, cut those gloves. This guy is, cut those gloves. And when they're saying cut those gloves, he's like, and he has broken his fingers. I was like, now what's this you're saying? Anyway, that was Dr. Ezekiel, again, a friend of mine. And he was able to identify that my fingers were broken without an X-ray. They didn't look broken anyway. They just looked the way they did, but they were broken. And I went into theater, under full anesthesia, and that's the closest thing to death. After that day, I got home. That particular day, it was many, many things had happened, and I was really trying to process what had taken place. I remember at the point that they were cutting the gloves off my hand, I still had a fitness tracker, and it was telling me how many things. It was not to become irritating, So when they were cutting it, I didn't tell them even just cut it, but no, they just stopped it. So it had taken 20 minutes from the time I had the accident, got home, and got to hospital. Talk about God's providence. And I started just appreciating that this would have gone south. It would have ended. That would have been the end, And I started to think about how limited we are as human beings, how limited I am as myself, For all the plans I had with my wife, many things I procrastinated about, because there'd always be time to get those things done. Relax, man, acha pressure, So I would just think about how many things those were I would get to do. And in that particular time, I would have lost my life. I started to think about the men who had taken their time to lift me out of the pit. Within their limited time, they took their time to come and lift me. It's not that they woke up and said, today we are going to lift this guy who's going to be knocked and take him home. It wasn't on their, on their hit list, So that they took that and they're so courteous and so gentle, the precision in which they moved me. In case I had anything on my spine, the way they moved me, even the doctor said, by the way, these guys did an excellent job. And I agree with him. And this got me to see how God comes through for us in ways that are limitless. The truth is, whatever your beliefs are, troubles will come your way. There are times you can really feel like giving up because you're like, I tried this, it's just not working. And just seeing how God was able to come through, all those things had been laid out. I don't take it for granted that the orthopedic surgeon who was available that day, it's just not obvious that you'd find that person to come in and take you through that. That my wife was, how she was composed. She actually drove the car like we were going on a picnic. She's like, the pain is there. It'll get better. Just relax. I'm like, no, it's me who's supposed to be saying relax. You're supposed to be crying, So that's how that was. I went in and thought about all these things. And it got me thinking also about our workspace, There's so many things that we focus on and we think about how we'll get them done, but where do we draw this strength from? It got me thinking about just the limitations that we do face. And I got to appreciate how much more we can do when we just submit to God in terms of the situation that is. I got to understand limitless from a perspective of it being a mindset. I remember my mood had moved from between my pain. At some point, I started appreciating how much it was happening for me, from the point of no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Then I got to understand that actually if the weapon had prospered, I would not be alive. So the weapon did not prosper. And this got me to just thank God for how he comes through for us. The same God who did this for me is available to all of us. and to help us overcome the many curveballs that are awaiting us. It's not going to be smooth all the way, but what is going to be there is there will be a God who can lift you out of all the situations that would come challenging upon you. So regardless of what these things would be, just don't give up and trust that God will help you out of it.